The time is 12 o'clock. Here is the midday news. First, the top stories. Muslims are celebrating Eid al-Fitr to mark end of Ramadan fast. Amoso again promises to complete the ongoing Ogun State projects. Presidency worried over rise in awaiting trial prison inmates. Governor Mike explains why he sacked his cabinet. In foreign, Chad considers pulling out troops from fighting Islamic militants. And 6 passengers killed, 16 missing in sinking boat in Colombia. Good afternoon, I am Chienye Egwuonwu, bringing you the details of the news shortly. Muslims nationwide are celebrating the Eid al-Fitr to mark the end of the Ramadan fast. On Sunday, they offered prayers at the various praying grounds across the country. Today and tomorrow had been declared work-free by the presidency to enable them celebrate the festival. As Muslims celebrate Eid al-Fitr to mark end of Ramadan fast, Governor Ibikunle Amosu of Ogun State again promises to complete all the ongoing infrastructural projects before his tenure expires on May 29, 2019. Amosu says that his administration is doing everything within the resources available to fulfill the promises. The governor, who makes the fresh pledge in an interview with newsmen at the Lantoro Praying Ground in Abeokuta after attending the Eid al-Fitr prayer to mark the end of the Ramadan fast, also says that his administration will embark on new projects. On the growing separatist agitations and hate speeches, the governor urges Nigerians not to allow their agitations to divide the nation. He enjoins all Nigerians to concentrate on things that will unite them, while asking Muslims not to go back to sins after the Ramadan fast. The chief imam of Egbaland, Alhaji Liadi Orunsolu, in his sermon, asks Muslims to see all they possess as a gift from God, which should be used to help build the wealth of the nation. Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State has apologized to civil servants on the payroll of the state government over the failure to pay them June salaries ahead of the Salah celebration. The governor blames the delay in the capturing and downloading of the list of salaries from the central computer system on Friday. Shettima, who spoke on the issue addressing government officials and APC members at the government house in Maiduguri, also says the salary delay affects both local government staff. He promises that the salary will be paid on Wednesday on the resumption of civil servants from their 2-day Salah holiday. Presidency says it is worried over the growing population of inmates of the country's prisons who are not victims. Interior Minister Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Dambazao says 7 out of every 10 inmates in the prisons are still awaiting trial in courts. According to the minister, who expressed his concern at the development during a visit to the Kano Central Prison in the Kano metropolis, says some of the awaiting trial inmates remain in prison for up to 15 years. Dambazao, who visited the Kano prison in company of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, thanked Kano state government for providing a vast piece of land for the construction of a new prison that will accommodate 3,000 inmates. Senator Dino Melaye, who is facing a recall from the Senate by his constituency in Kogi State, has faulted the signatories to the recall petition. Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has fixed July 3 for the authentication of the signature of 188,000 eligible voters in the Kogi West Senatorial District who are seeking his recall from the Senate. But Melaye, in a statement by his aide, Abubakar Sadiq, alleges that names of people who were already dead were on the list of the signatories. The senator also says that only 111,000 people who voted in the 2015 senatorial poll in Kofi West Senatorial District, whereas about 188,000 signed a petition seeking his recall. He insists on his allegation that his recall was plotted by Governor Yahya Bello at the government house in Lokoja. Governor Unyesom Wike of Rivers State says it sacked his cabinet to reposition his administration. for a new dispensation. Wike explains that the dissolution of the cabinet is to ensure that disloyal political appointees are removed, while those found to be loyal will be recalled. The governor, who claims to have consulted the state PDP leadership on the cabinet dissolution, stated this at the election Thanksgiving service in the honor of a majority whip in the State House of Assembly at St. Martin's Anglican Church, Ogun. Governors, according to Wike, must work only with political appointees who are loyal to him, while those found to be disloyal are asked to go. Besides, Governor Wike says that every political appointee must expect any eventuality. Before the weekend sack of the entire cabinet, Wike had sacked his Works Commissioner, while Information and Communication Commissioner quit in protest. The Sultan of Sokoto Alhaji Saad Abubakar has asked government to investigate the source of weapons being used by killer headsmen attacking communities nationwide. The Sultan, who made the call in a solemn message, says the investigations will reduce the level of attacks by the killer headsmen. Real headsmen, according to the Sultan, do not carry arms except sticks to shepherd their cattle. The Sultan says there could be bad eggs among the Fulani headsmen, but insists that headsmen carrying arms and killing people are criminals and security agencies should treat them as such. Department of Security Service (DSS) says it has arrested a top Boko Haram force commander and 20 other suspected terrorists planning attacks during the ongoing Salah celebration in Kano State. Kano State DSS Director Al-Hassan Mohammed, who made those known in Kano, explains that they were rounded up during a 48-hour operation carried out by the operatives of the agency and policemen. According to him, arms, primed explosive device, and improvised explosive device were recovered during the raid. The arrested Boko Haram commander, according to Mohammed, was in charge of terrorist operations in Kano, Sokoto, and Kaduna states. You're still listening to the Midday News on Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we bring you foreign, business, and sports news. Please do stay with us. On the foreign scene, Chad's President Idris Deby, an important Western ally in the fight against Islamist militants, has warned that his country could be forced to withdraw some of its troops from the fight if it does not get financial help. Chad, which also hosts the headquarters of France's 3,000 troops-strong regional anti-militant operation, which is known as the Barkhane, is considering pulling out its troops by end of 2017 or early 2018 if the situation was to continue. Chad has played a key role in efforts backed by the West to combat neighboring Nigeria's Islamic State, affiliated Boko Haram fighters, as well as Al-Qaeda. Chad has in recent years sent troops to fight militants in Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Mali. Chad, according to Deby, is a small country with no financial means, which has done huge problems in its recent history, adding that it is the duty of those who have more means to help it. Deby explains that apart from intelligence training, Chad has not received any financial help since its intervention in Mali, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Niger Republic. According to him, Chad spends out of its own resources $512 million in the fight against terrorism without any external help. US has warned that some of the demands set by 4 Arab states on Qatar in return for lifting sanctions will be difficult to meet. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, however, said the proposals provided a basis for dialogue leading to a solution of the crisis. Mr. Tillerson said Qatar was assessing the demands and stressed there were significant areas which provide a basis for ongoing dialogue leading to resolution. On Saturday, Qatar's foreign minister rejected the list of 13 conditions imposed by Saudi Arabia and its allies, Egypt, the UAE, and Bahrain. Qatar has been under unprecedented diplomatic and economic sanctions for more than 2 weeks, with Iran and Turkey increasingly supplying it with food and other goods. At least 6 people have died when a passenger boat sank on a reservoir in northwestern Colombia. They said that 133 people were rescued, but 16 are still missing after the four-deck Almirante went down near the popular resort town of Guatapi. There were about 170 people on board. Witness Juan Quiroz says the boat sank in less than 5 minutes. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos, who traveled to the scene on Sunday evening, said 6 people had been killed, revising down an initial death toll of 9 given by officials. Next is the business news. Edo government is to set up a foundry and publication village to fast-track skill and technological development and the industrialization of the state. To actualize the objective, it has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigeria Institute of Welding to assist to establish the planned fabrication village in the state. Governor Godwin Obaseki signed on behalf of the state government, while Dr. Solomon Edebiri, the president of NIW, signed on behalf of the school at the Edo Government House in Benin City. According to the governor, the MOU with the institute will give the state global access to welding processes and technological capacity to have welding colonies. The governor also assures the provision of power to the proposed fabrication sites in the state. Finally, sports news. Chinese second-tier club Beijing Enterprises have signed Nigerian striker Victor Anichebe. The player was recently released by Sunderland following their relegation from the Premier League. Anichebe joins compatriot Leke James at the club, which is still reeling from the tragic death of the Ivorian Cheikh Tiote earlier this month. Anichebe has also played for Everton and West Bromwich Albion in his club career. Cameroon have crashed out of the 2017 FIFA Confederations Cup following a 3-1 defeat to Germany at the Feast Olympic Stadium in Sochi, Russia on Sunday evening. As a result, the FIFA World Cup holders advance as Group B winners, with Chile ending as runners-up following the 1-1 draw with Australia. The Indomitable Lions played the final 25 minutes with 10 men following the controversial sending off of Ernest Mabuka. The Germans took full advantage as they cruised into the knockout stages, while victory sealed a 100th win in the 150th games in charge for German coach Joachim Löw. That was the midday news, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Muslims are celebrating Eid al-Fitr to mark end of Ramadan fast. Amoson again promised to complete ongoing Ogun State projects. Presidency worried over rise in awaiting trial prison inmates. And Governor Wike explained why he sacked his cabinet. On the foreign scene, we also told you that Chad considered pulling out troops from fighting Islamic militants. And 6 passengers killed, 16 missing in sinking boat in Colombia. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. Thank you so much for listening. I am Chienye. Egwuonwu. Happy celebration.